Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. I am your fanatic host, the NFL genius, and in my upper left corner, I got Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, College Cottrell.
What's going on?
No, don't even answer. Don't even answer. I should have went. Hold on. Upper right corner, I got my fellow fanatic, William Regal Shallcross, Uncle Shally. How you feeling tonight, Bill? I got to get Phillies fans first.
I mean, in regards to the Phillies, I feel about as good as I think anyone can.
I'm fired up. Guys, if you're wondering why Dancing on My Own is not playing in the background, it's because copyright infringement. Trust me, I want to be playing it right now. If you want, I could stop the show. I can sing the song, recite it for you. No? Okay. In the upper left corner, it is rivalry week between me and this man. I got Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, College Cottrell.
Well, we are slowly approaching that point. Gene's last couple weeks here of being a Penn State fan.
That's incorrect.
We are at the beginning of it, and then come November 12th, we'll probably be at the tail end of it. So, Gene, the Penn State fan will be here and gone before you know it.
It's incorrect statement. I understand what we're getting into this week. We'll talk about it. Drew Hour traveling to Ohio State. We will talk about it. College football will be huge today. And if you want your full dose of college football, tune in to Coast to Coast, Saturday morning, 10 Eastern Standard Time. And in replacing of me, you have Black Elmore, Oregon Duck fan, with these two handsome gentlemen. But this is Wire2Wire. This is Wednesday night. We have a lot to get into. But first and foremost, we have to talk about the team that continues to dance on their own. The Philadelphia Fightin' Phils won last night 10-0. But before we get into that, a lot has happened since last Wednesday. I got to get into Orlando Arcia's comments about Bryce Harper, attaboy Bryce, and then what followed that statement on Thursday and Friday from that Philadelphia Phillies team at home in Citizens Bank Park. So first of all, I understand, the kid's excited. First, they said it was a hoax, that he didn't really say it, he doesn't speak English. Then he admitted to it. Oh, he wasn't supposed to hear it. I genuinely felt bad for Mr. Arcia after Game 3. Felt bad for him. I'm like, man, he was excited after a game. He said something, and I think it got kind of overblown a little bit by Philadelphia fans, and Bryce stared him down on the 2 home runs, and he was national news. I kind of felt bad for him. I felt a little upset. I'm like, we don't need to be ragging on him this much. And then in the third inning of Game 4, Austin Riley hits a solo home run that would have been out of no ballparks outside Citizens Bank in like the smallest part of the ballpark. And Orlando Arcia starts celebrating like they won Game 7 of the World Series. And he starts taunting the fans and ends up getting in an argument with the 12-year-old behind the Braves dugout, does like hand gestures, making fun of him. I got a ring, you don't have a ring. So much that the worst leader in all of baseball on a good team, Ronald Acuna Jr., had to, hey, dude, you got to stop, bro. Puts his arm around him and tells him, hey, knock it off. You can't do that. Like, we're losing in the series 2-1. Like, knock it off. And Arcia had to be contained by the worst leader in all of sports. I didn't even say baseball. He's the worst leader in all sports. The guy is a ghost. Didn't even show up for his post-game presser. He's going to be the MVP of the league. Your thoughts on Arcia, your thoughts on the comment, and your thoughts on poking the bear. I will go to Cottrell first because I feel a Shally rant coming. I feel it. I think I'm trying to like started for him. So, Cottrell, let me hear your feedback on it from an out-of-towner's perspective.
So, I mean, I think it's funny because I even said it in the chat, like, after it all came out, and you knew Harper was going to, take it somewhat personal because that's just who he is. We talked about it last week. He's that guy. He doesn't need much to really, ignite the flame up under him. So, I think it's great that Harper was able to, bottle that up, and I have no issues at all with the way he was looking at RC and things like that. Now, I will say to Orlando's defense here, I'm under the impression that he said it in an aspect like no one else was supposed to hear it, and he said Bryce wasn't supposed to hear it either. I do think some talk, if it happens in the locker room, kind of should stay there. He probably felt like that was a safe place, amongst his teammates and things like that. Reporter heard it, ran with it. Hey, that's what that reporter was supposed to do. Obviously it made national news. So not saying that the reporter was in the wrong there, but I also 100% understand where Orlando's coming from because if I'm in my locker room with my guys, we just got a big win like that on a crazy play. Attaboy Bryce really isn't the craziest thing in the world. It just so happened that the next game, Bryce took it personal and he goes off, has the two bombs and looks at him as he's rounding the bases. So I just think that was that brings the fun out of it. And then as far as the taunting the little kid, I mean, I just think that's insane. Regardless if you're up or not. I mean, I do think it's harmless fun, but read the room. You're down 2-1. And at the end of the day, it's a kid, in enemy territory. So I think it would be a lot different. Even if the Braves were up 2-1, I'm still not a big fan of that. But I mean, at the end of the day, kind of I don't want to say you got what he deserved, but essentially, that's what happened.
Shall we? The floor is yours, sir.
I'm gonna start right off the bat with disagreeing with Cottrell in regards to, defending him in the least little bit. It's the World Series playoffs. There are reporters everywhere in your locker room. There's national media there. It's not just regional at this point. It's not a normal middle of the season game. There's national reporters everywhere. Obviously, if one reporter caught whiff of that, he was going to go back to the Phillies locker room and get reaction to it, and it was going to be known and it was going to be printed. You're responsible for the words that come out of your mouth. He said a bunch that stoked the fire. I think there's a lot that goes to poking the bear. I think the Phillies were hot anyway, but you poke the best player on the hotter team. That's a dangerous game. I thought it was very cowardly. When you see the stare down from the other angle, he's just staring at the ground, didn't even look at Bryce. Listen, man, if you're going to talk it, walk it, and he couldn't. And then on top of that, now you're getting in arguments with fans behind the dugout, and that wasn't at the beginning. I thought it was kind of playful, but when he turned around to his other shoulder, right before the Acuna moment that Gene mentioned, when he's like, "Yo, you just got to shut up and concentrate." He was agitated there, he lost his cool, he was melting down, and he had a horrible series on top of everything else. So, second year in a row. I think it's firmly, and easy to say the Phillies are firmly in the Braves' head because I will tell you this. I mean, they were far and away the best team in baseball for the regular season. They came in here. History is history. And I think it's funny how the narrative is changing nationally about how now all of a sudden the fans are great and this home field advantage is so incredible. And it helped bring Trey Turner there and Castellanos there. And it's why Bryce wants to stay. It's funny how the negative stuff has gone away all of a sudden, and it's all the national media is just in love with the atmosphere at Citizens Bank Park. I think it's kind of ironic and kind of hypocritical, but maybe we'll get into that later. But Braves came in here, couldn't hit Wheeler, couldn't hit Nola, and the bullpen did its job, and then that was that. It was a very, it was a high. It was a very tense series because we knew how good the Braves were. The Phillies dominated them. They did. Done in 4, get them out of here.
I do think, though, from an outsider's perspective, I think the reason why the national media has shifted specifically about the Phillies, I think the Phillies are just that likable team, like especially in the sense of, the players. Like obviously, people are going to get behind Bryce and what he did, things like that. You had a lot of people that loved Trey Turner before he was a Philly, and I think with the Phillies specifically as well, like they are. Obviously, they just went to the World Series last year. They're not true underdogs, but in this sense, like last year, no one was expecting them to go to the World Series. Even this year, like obviously, we know what the Phillies can do in the playoffs, but I'd say from just nationally, no one was expecting the Phillies to beat this Braves team. Again, I know we all picked the Phillies to win the series, but I just think that the Phillies are a team that people like, and as opposed to the other teams where if anything crazy happens in at Wells Fargo or even at the Link, you're going to hear about it just because like Derek Dempsey says, no one likes us, we don't care. That's not the model with the Phillies team though. Like I think they're a likable team in terms of the national picture.
Well, I have words to that, and I only put this comment up because I think it's very important. Key Williams says reminds me of the 08 team. I will strongly and vehemently disagree, and I'll explain why. This is the most in love I've ever been with a baseball team my entire life. 93, loved them. I'll give you the whole lineup. Leading off, center fielder, Lenny Dykstra. Batting second base, it was either Mariano Duncan or Mickey Morandini, depending on who they were facing. Batting third, first base, John Kruk. Then Dave Hollins, then Dutch Dalton. Then, you can go through the whole line. Eisenreich and Incaviglia and Stocker. I can go through the lineup, right? I love 93. 08 was great. It was great. Didn't really like the team that much. I like Chase. I mean, if we're being completely honest, the city never really fully embraced Ryan. And the city had a love-hate relationship with Jimmy. Didn't run ground balls out. There was issues. Pat Burrell was 230 hitter. It wasn't a lovable team. People really never loved Cole Hamels until 08, now that championship series. Brett Myers hit his wife. I don't know. It was a good team. I liked it. This team is the most lovable team I've ever watched. And you know what's funny? Nola reminds me a lot of Cole Hamels, right? In a sense that I don't think they're overpowering or unhittable. I think they're going on a run, which I love to see. But the thing that 08 team didn't have is a Zach Wheeler. And Bryce Harper, you want to equal him out to Chase Utley. I think Bryce is going to be a megastar in Philadelphia for years and years to come. But if you want to equal him out, I don't think that 08 team or that 93 team or that 1980 team had anybody that you have Stott, you got Schwarber, you got Trey Turner, who since August 4th is the most lovable human being in Philadelphia because he embraced the fans for cheering him and went on a tear. Castellanos, he embraces Philadelphia like no other. He's it's a different team. And it's the most lovable team I've ever watched him. I love me some Ranger Suarez. Jose Alvarado, watch the way he gets pumped up after he gets a huge out. I love that. It's the most lovable team I've ever seen. And it would be an absolute travesty if that team didn't win the World Series. I don't mean to say this to be smart. I don't mean to say this to be cocky. This team has to win a World Series because that parade will be better than 08. Could you imagine dancing on my own, playing throughout that parade? There's no, I honestly think, wild statement, this Phillies team is more lovable than the 17-18 Philadelphia Eagles that won the Super Bowl. I mean that. And we talk about no one likes us, we don't care. That's an Eagles motto. But if we're being completely honest, Philly fans, don't kill me. Phillies fans are better than Eagles fans. Granted, most of them are the same. But like with Phillies fans, you have that 60, 70-year-old man that goes to the ballpark that understands the knowledge of baseball. They're not liquored up going into Lincoln Financial Field saying Darius Slay sucks because they didn't understand that they were in a cover 2 and it was the safeties assignment. Phillies fans are just different. And I don't know why, because a lot of them are the same people. But I just think they're better. Phillies fans are better than Eagles fans. Granted, they might be the same people. Just the fan base as a whole. That's why they're more lovable. Just an opinion. Let's move on to the series. Let's talk about the Philadelphia Phillies versus the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks are down 2-0. They are selling their stock in their team. Tickets are going off for $17 to a playoff game. It's cheaper for a Philadelphia Phillies fan to fly to Arizona, buy a ticket, fly back, than to get 2 tickets into a game in Philadelphia. It's absurd. The Diamondbacks are giving up on their team. They're down 2-0, a 10-0 thrashing last night. Tell me why this team doesn't gentleman sweep. I don't want to be disrespectful and say they're going to win the next 2 games in Arizona. Bill might be. Cottrell might be. I think the Arizona Diamondbacks team beat up a destroyed and disheveled Dodgers team that was missing Julio Urias because he hits women. They're missing Walker Buehler because he's injured all year. They literally had Clayton Kershaw and a bag of Doritos on the pitching mound. I think this Phillies team's just different. They can beat you 1 through 7 with one swing of the bat. And I love seeing that. So you tell me, guys, what are your thoughts on games 3 and 4, Thursday and Friday? And when does this series get wrapped up? I'm not even ask you. You guys all have the Phillies winning the series, right?
Yep.
When does it get wrapped up? Does it make it to game 6? Do they dance on their own in game 6 in Philadelphia? Or do they finish it in Arizona?
Me personally, I'm gonna say game 5 is when the series ultimately finishes up. Ranger, I think, is gonna go out. He's gonna be exactly who Ranger's been, throughout the entire playoffs and what we see from him in the playoffs. I think game 4, I'd assume, is gonna be a bullpen game for you guys.
They'll probably start Taijuan Walker, go to Christopher Sanchez, and after Walker goes through one time through the order, they'll go to Christopher Sanchez for one time through the order.
So
and
essentially,
hope to get 5 innings out of those 2. Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So I think, by the sounds of that, I would have the Phillies winning game 3. I think Ranger goes out, maybe gives up 1 run. I think that's like a 4-1, 5-1 game. Game 4, I could see that being the game where Arizona, they want to get one in front of their home crowd. Maybe you get a Corbin home run here or there. I think that's going to be the game that they win. And then ultimately, once the Phillies go back and throw Wheeler back on the mound, I think that's a wrap for them. Kind of the way I was expecting the Dodgers to get rid of the Diamondbacks, I was fully expecting the Phillies to go and do the same thing. But it's a difference than just being a better team on paper. And the Phillies have shown, once playoff time hits, they're going to play the way that their roster looks. And so I have no doubt that the Phillies are going to take care of business in this one rather quickly.
Look at my man Boog. Next time the Phillies play at home, the World Series will be tied 1-1. I love that prediction. I'll take it. I'll sign up for it. I will sign. Guys, if the Philadelphia Phillies are tied 1-1, headed back to Philadelphia for games 3, 4, and 5, you're looking at your World Series champions. It doesn't leave the bank. It doesn't leave the bank. Red October is real, gentlemen. When's the series end, shall we?
I agree with Kachal. It's going to end in 5. I mean, for them to come back here, they're going to have to beat some combination. It's just simple math. They're going to have to beat 2 of Ranger, Taijuan, Wheeler. I just don't see it. I mean, they have their own pitching issues of their own. I think maybe they steal one somewhere. I don't know if they're going to bring Gallen back on short rest in game 4, maybe against the bullpen game, and they salvage game there. I don't know what they're going to do. They're kind of out of bullets too. So I don't want to be too cocky and say we ended in 4. I'll give them the credit and say they win 1 at home. I won't be surprised if it ends in 4, because I think if Ranger goes out, tomorrow night and handles his business, and I mean, then I think it's just inevitable, and the writing's on the wall. And I mean that hill's just too steep to climb. You're not gonna win a bullpen game in Game 4 and then come back here or beat Wheeler at home, come back here, beat Nola again, and then beat Ranger in Game 7. That's just not going to happen, especially with the pitching issues they have. So they're just outclassed. I mean, I'm going to give them a little bit of credit for Game 1 against the Dodgers. Clayton Kershaw had a good year, and they shelled him. He got the first inning. So I'm going to give them their due there. And after that, it was kind of, it was pretty fundamental at that point, which I think was surprising. And you have to give them credit. We could talk about the Dodgers pitching staff all we want, but I mean, they held that lineup to, 2 or 3 runs a game as well, which is no easy feat in its own right. So
didn't you feel like the Dodgers were squeezing the bats? Like, I watched those games and it felt like you could feel all the pressure in the world on them, because all 3 games Arizona got out to the early leads. Within the first 3 innings, they were up by 4 runs in all 3 bit.
I think it's that, and again, it's playoff baseball. I think it's hard to constantly be on the other foot and have to chase. It's no different than any sport. If you can get out in front and get a lead and make the other team play differently and change their approach, that's what you want to do. And I think, listen, I mean, I think the end all be all. I mean, we talk about this all the time. We could say whatever we want. At the same time, when the players on the field, like if you look at them, like they know, you know what I mean? Like it's, the Dodgers knew like they were gonna have to outscore them to beat them. They if you're being real honest about it, they knew they didn't have the pitching to win that series, and they didn't. Yeah. They Clayton, if you think, if you figure maybe Clayton pulls out Game 1, it's a little bit different of a series, but he got shelled, and then after that, the Dodgers knew like what are we coming back with after this? So, it's tough. It's tough, but at the same time, you got to give them credit for beating the Dodgers. They were the second, highest scoring team in the major leagues this year. Like they're a good team. They had the pitching woes, but they hit, and they shut down their offense as well. The Phillies are just better. They're hotter, and it's I would say even more than the Dodgers. I think the only other lineup that's comparable is the Braves, and I mentioned it earlier when we talked about it. You kind of feel it. I never thought Wheeler and Nola were in trouble of losing their games, but that being said, every inning there was a pressure at bat because every guy that came into the box for Atlanta could hit. Like it's a high pressure situation. They put your pitching under pressure constantly, and that's what the Phillies do. You mentioned it, 1 through 7 get a home run at any time, and then you throw in Brandon Marsh at 8, who he's good for 15 a year. The only guy that I would say is somewhat of an easy out right now is Rojas, but he's probably good for a hit a game, and he pops a double here and there. That team constantly puts pressure on you no matter what situation you're in. If you get 1 or 2 guys on, then you're facing some combination of Bryce, JT, Bone, Stott, Casty. Like there's nowhere for you to hide if you're a pitcher on that mound right now with that lineup, with the way they're hitting.
I want to give credit to somebody real quick. I want to give credit to somebody that I don't know if as a whole Philadelphia fans will give credit to him, because he's probably hit the worst out of the top 7 guys in the lineup. But I want to give credit to Alec Bohm, and I'll explain to you why. He hit the ball hard 3 times last night. And not only that, he's played a hell of a third base. He's made some ridiculous catches at third base, diving plays. And, a lot of people are calling for them to switch Bohm and Castellanos from 4 to 7, 7 to 4. But I think that it's going to end up playing dividends for the Philadelphia Phillies to leave Bohm there, because he's starting to see the ball better. And you can see it. Roped a few balls.
He hit the ball hard last night in his last 2 at-bats of Game 1 were both lineouts. He lined out to third, Evan Longoria, then he lined out to short. So he's seen the ball better. I love that he hit that gapper at the end of the game last night. I mean, the runs didn't matter, but just to see him, hit another ball hard and actually be able to actually see it finally get down and hit a double. And, it's, listen, I mean, he's taking big steps this year, and he's just a big, just a part of the reason they're there as anybody else. I mean, he's He's been great. So they're all firing on all cylinders right now. They're dangerous. I don't know what to say. And Wheeler and Nola look like they're goddamn unhittable right now. So I mean, it's in a 7-game series. You're going to have to do something special to put them in trouble right now. And I say that as a team. It's going to take something special to knock them kind of off course right now.
Texas Rangers up 2-0 on the Houston Astros. Won both games in Houston. Going home tonight, game 3. How does that series end? Anybody giving Houston a chance in this one? I'll go last.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm definitely giving Houston a chance. I actually think they win tonight. Javier on the mound. I think they go out, win that game, and I think this is a chance for that Houston lineup to potentially gain some momentum. Obviously, Texas is throwing out Max Scherzer, and a lot of the top guys. Jordan's playing out of his mind right now in the postseason, but Altuve, Kyle Tucker, like a lot of those guys in that lineup haven't really been hitting. So I think going out there against the Scherzer, who's really getting his footing back, I think this is a chance for them to gain some momentum. And I think it is important, too, that, for these guys, yes, this is a home game for the Rangers, but you got to remember, like, the travel is only 2 hours for these teams. So, yes, home field is always going to play a part in it. But I do think that the travel days, the games being back to back, like I think Houston is going to be able to, get some momentum and ultimately make the series competitive.
Charlie?
I'll agree with a little bit of Cottrell on this one. I think, honestly, if you really want to have an argument about it, Christian Javier has probably been their best pitcher the last month. Verlander hasn't been great. He did pitch pretty good in game 1. Jordan Montgomery just outdueled him. Framber's a mess. Yep. Framber's a disaster right now. So, again, you're just going down to simple math. I mean, it's they got to pull some games somewhere. I will say if Houston wins tonight, I think they got a shot. I don't know if Texas can really count on letting it go back to Houston and feel comfortable. If they go back to Houston 3-2, I mean, you're going to have to go in there and then beat Verlander and Framber. But
maybe not.
It depends. Let's see what happens. Depends when they save. Really depends on when they decide to bring Verlander back. Framber's not going to pitch at Texas, so I mean, if he pitches again in the series, it's going to be at home in Houston. It's going to be a matter of what they do to get there. But I think Texas is just kind of similar to Philly. They're doing all the little things right. As long as Max doesn't come out tonight and get shelled, if he can get through 5 innings, his first start back, and they're in the ball game, I think they got a shot. But it's, I know the obvious thing to say is if Houston wins tonight, they got a shot. If not, they're down 3-0. Like, I get it, but it's a huge momentum thing. It's a huge mental thing to show up for game 4, down 2-1 versus 3-0. I think if they can win tonight, I think it changes what Texas wants to do with Jordan Montgomery. And then obviously they'll still have a Voldy in the holster as well. So I think Texas is a great spot. They're just playing better baseball. Cottrell mentioned Jordan. Jordan just is becoming one of those guys. He gets to the playoffs and you just can't stop him. The dude's an animal. Rest of the team is not playing well. Bregman's hitting around 200. Altuve, I don't know. Doesn't know it's coming. Isn't hitting as well. Kyle Tucker is not playing like normal Kyle Tucker. So they kind of went cold, at the wrong time, and they're against a team that caught fire the last 2 weeks of the year. 3 weeks left of the season, we thought Texas was dead. Houston finally caught them. They passed them. Scherzer got hurt. We talked about it on the show. We're like, they might just fold. And in the last 10 days of the season, they went like 8-2. They beat everybody. So they're hot. And that lineup hits, man. I mean, again, that's another team in the middle of the lineup. It's not a bunch of guys you want to see coming up if you got a 1-run lead. You got Simeon, Corey Seager, we talked about last week. Those guys can hit. Not an easy team to beat right now, and they're confident. And that matters in baseball. For people who don't play, man, I mean, it matters. And it can change. The momentum in baseball is fickle, man. It can change on a pitch. It can change by half an inning, and it can change the game completely. So it is they have everything going in the right direction right now. And I think Houston's a little bit stunned. So we'll see what happens.
So you got Texas in 5?
I think Texas has to win it in 5. I mean, I'm not saying
What's your
they can't
prediction?
win. I'll say 5.
Okay. I am
I
telling
got
you.
Astros in 7, by the way.
Really? Oh, man. I thought I was going to be the one that goes out on the brim. I don't know who wins the series. I don't want to say. I have Houston. I have the Texas Rangers winning the series in 6. That's where my official prediction will be. I guarantee stone cold, lead pipe, lock, the Houston Astros win tonight. I think it's a terrible idea to throw Max Scherzer and start him tonight. I think it's a terrible idea. Everything's rolling for them in the right direction. They're going to take guys and pitch in a month and just throw them out there in a home playoff game. I don't like it at all. I don't like it at all. I think it's a terrible move for Texas, if I'm being completely honest. And I think Houston shells them. I think tonight's a 9-3 Houston game. I don't think it's close. I think they jump on them early. I don't care who we see in the World Series. I want to answer Derek Dempsey's question. If you're asking me who I'd rather see, it's Houston.
It's got to be Houston.
Well, it's not I'd rather see Houston because I worry about Texas. I'd rather see Houston because they
beat you in the World Series last year.
Correct.
Yeah.
I want my revenge. It's not fun winning if you don't beat the team. One of my biggest regrets in 2008, I love that we won, right? Biggest regret in 2008 was that we beat Tampa. I don't want to lie to you. Would have been better to beat Boston or New York. It would have been better.
They didn't get there. Nothing we can do about that.
It's fair, but Evan Gattis, whatever. I wanted to beat the big Yankees in 2009 or the Red Sox in 2008. I wanted to beat one of them.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We got a fun series ahead of us. I have Texas in 6 is my official prediction, but I wouldn't be shocked if Houston wins that series. I wouldn't be. But I'll tell you right now, Houston wins tonight. It's a bad start for Texas starting Max Scherzer. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's smart.
I almost wonder too, depending on how if the game goes how we think it's going to go, Gene, because I'm on board with you. I think this is the game where Houston's bats really start to wake up. I almost wonder, depending on how bad that game looks, do Texas even think about starting Scherzer again this series? Like maybe bring him out the bullpen for a couple games, or if you have like a bullpen game later on in the series, but like, do they even get to the point where they're not even going to start him the rest of the series?
It depends how he feels after his start. But see, this is the problem. I don't think he's pitched a simulated game. I've looked up everything online to see if Max Scherzer even pitched a simulated game. Like normally when you come back from a rehab stint, you have games that you pitch in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
That's not like this year. It's totally different. And I think Texas, because they're coming out of a wild card round and how quick things laid over from the wild card to the divisional round to now, I don't even think he's pitched a simulated game. I've Googled it everywhere. I can't find it. So I think that the Max Scherzer gets lit up tonight. Just an opinion. I could be wrong. He pitched a simulated game Sunday. That's apparently. I don't know where you found that. I couldn't find that earlier. I was Googling it. But okay. So he has pitched a simulated game. But we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with Max tonight. I don't think Max does well. I think he's out there by the 4th. I don't think he pitches. I don't think he closes the 4th inning out. And I think that's a nightmare scenario for Texas, who doesn't have a bullpen that people think they do. It's not like lights out bullpen. It's not. 16th out of.
It's just, again, it all depends what's like. If he gets through the 4th and he's thrown 80 pitches, I mean, he's going to be on a pitch count for sure.
Yeah,
but
80 to 90, I think they said.
Yeah, if they get through 4 and he's at his pitch count, but they're only down like 2-1, that's fine. It's a matter of what those 4 innings are. If he leaves in the 4th and they're down 5-0, then yeah, it's a disaster. But I mean, I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be interesting.
All right, so it's time for us to get into the NFL. Talk about some NFL action. We're going to talk about some games that happened last week. No more undefeated teams in the NFL. Philadelphia Eagles lost to Zach Wilson and the New York Jets in the worst game I could ever remember Jalen Hurts playing. And the thing that bothers me is this. There's a lot of Jalen Hurts apologists out there for this past game. Granted, he made some very good plays in which the Eagles did not help him out. Devontae Smith had 2 really bad drops. One that would probably ice the game, if we're being honest. That one where he had like a whole world in front of him and he dropped it. Kenny Gainwell had a really bad drop on a 3rd down. Hit him right in the chest, right between the 1 and the 4. Bad game for Philadelphia. Look ahead game, maybe. I don't care. Listen, I'm going to give you my honest opinion. I don't know where other people stand on this. I manage 2 softball teams. It's nothing to do with the NFL. But the toughest thing to do is get your guys up for a game you're supposed to win. Especially knowing the next week you're going against the Miami Dolphins on Sunday Night Football. This was a prototypical trap game. They sat Slay, even though he wasn't that injured. He said there's personal issues going on. Okay. Jalen Carter gets injured at practice, doesn't play. Devontae Smith had a terrible football game. He's been awful. And I have an opinion on this. And for the one time in my entire life, I'm going to agree with Donovan McNabb. And I hate doing that, but I'll get into that. But the Jets beat him, right? Zach Wilson and the Jets beat the Eagles, and it was due to poor turnovers. But I feel it. I don't blame that game on the defense. Defense did everything they could do. Eagles turned the ball over 3 times. Terrible football game. Your thoughts on the game, Shally?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I go to the whole apologist thing. It's, I heard a lot about the play calling this, play calling that. And there's credence to that. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say we should have thrown the ball 47 times or whatever it was. But that being said, it doesn't excuse the execution. And that's the part that people are not, they're not addressing. Like the last one, he doesn't throw that ball, they probably win the game. Now, should they have run the ball on 3rd and 7 with, and kept the clock running and then punted it? Yeah, 100%. Like I'm not disagreeing with any of that. But again, you can't drop back and throw a ball in a double coverage off your back foot and throw a pick, which was damn near pick 6. If he doesn't throw that interception, they still win the game. If it's incomplete and they punt it, I have no confidence Zach Wilson's going 90 yards with 1 minute and 10 seconds to go with no timeouts and scoring a touchdown. Like, come on. Like, it's, you could blame all you want. At the end of the day, he threw a horrible pass. His first one was a little bit, I would almost say bad luck. It was coming out of his hand, got deflected, and went dead sideways to the other side of the field, and there was a Jet guy standing there. That one was kind of crazy, but
talking about the one Dallas Carter dropped.
Yeah, it's he just didn't look good. He and the constant thing I will say, they talked about on the broadcast and everything else. He looked slow. He looked like it's the first time in a long time. He looked like he didn't know what he was seeing. His reads were slow. The ball came out late a lot. Then you factor in the drops. It was a sloppy game.
Speaking of sloppy, that game was called so sloppy. Mark Sanchez never belongs in a booth calling a Jets game ever again. He was a fanboy. It was like embarrassing listening to that.
I was just say I don't think he's that awful in the booth, but I mean, for him to call that game between those 2 teams, I don't think anybody thought that he was going to have that behavior and talk like that on the game on air though. But notwithstanding, it was a sloppy game. They didn't look good. There was parts of the game I didn't think they looked very interested. It's a loss that could be very costly come the end of the year. It's one of those losses. If we went in there and Aaron Rodgers was playing and we lost 17-14 Aaron Rodgers, to something, and Sauce was playing and stuff like that, that's a different story. At the end of the year, that loss is going to stick out like a sore thumb. We lost to Zach Wilson. The best player their second best player on defense didn't even play. You can't have it, man. And it's I know what you're going to bring up with Devonta too, and I actually agree with you. I agree with you across the board because I don't like agreeing with Don McNabb about anything. But it is.
But AJ Brown needs to get off Twitter, dude. He's responding to it. He shouldn't do that. The whole world knew it was about targets. Like, for you to still get out there and say it wasn't about targets, it was friends disagreeing, and then ever since that moment, AJ Brown's been the most targeted receiver in the NFL. Like, dude, shut up, dude. Stop, dude. It's embarrassing.
It's no coincidence. You had last week, or you had this past game, and then the week before that, you have they caught the whole thing with Sirianni. Like, he was, Devonta was kind of by himself, and he was down there talking to him. It's what it's about. Devonta had 2 huge games at the beginning of the year. Correct. AJ Brown wasn't getting the ball. He started pouting, and like you said, now it's every other pass that comes out of his hand is towards AJ Brown. And there's nothing wrong with that in the concept of it, as in, AJ Brown he's one of the best receivers in the league, and he's productive. But you went away from your natural game plan, your game flow, because he threw a temper tantrum.
Correct.
And that's what happened. And everybody can lie about it all they want. It's like Gene said. There's no coincidence here. He didn't have a good start to the year. Since week 3 on, he's the most targeted wide receiver in the NFL. And Devontae's targets have gone in the trash. Proof's in the pudding, buddy. It's not that hard to figure out.
I think the one thing, though, too, is that you got to, especially with how Jalen looked. And again, I only tuned in fourth quarter and on, but for me, it just looked like Jalen's mechanics were off. I don't know if there was some disconnect there, if it, play call wise, he just didn't like it, and he just wasn't performing there. But I think the biggest thing, though, is that when you have a guy like AJ Brown, if you want to get him the ball more, that's perfectly fine. I understand him complaining. I know you guys, have your opinion about it. You're winning. You shouldn't be complaining. 100% get that. If you want to get a guy like AJ Brown the ball more often, I would say design plays for him instead of just having Jalen Hurts go out there and just blindly say, "Hey, look at AJ Brown, throw him the ball." Get him a spring pass, like get him like some slants, or like run a play out of bunch formation to get him out in the flat so that he can go out there and create. Like, I think there's more ways to have your offense flow as opposed to just forcing AJ the ball. And I do think this is going to be an issue with this team, because I agree with you guys. The play calling hasn't quite been there, but we kind of knew that it was going to be growing pains, at least to start the season, just because of the new pieces that are there. I do think it is interesting that, Devonta, he struggled a bit, from the plays that I saw. He had some uncharacteristic plays from him, and I get it. Those games happen, but I think the biggest thing is that the team has to get back on the same page. Like, I think this game could be one of the ones where, like, hey, we go out there, we lost to the Jets, we shouldn't have lost. They can go out next week, absolutely dominate the Dolphins. Or if it's more of the same and they start to struggle a bit against the Dolphins, even though they are a good team, like, I think it could be, a downward spiral kind of approach to it. So got to see how that team responds and how Sirianni, gets those guys rolling. I think they respond and they bounce back in the right way. But I feel like it's more of a question mark than even I thought, even with it just being as simple as AJ Brown not getting the ball.
100%. I think the issue is when you're not getting him involved and he's not becoming a high volume receiver, he gets lost in the game plan. So yes, there's 100% situations that happen where Devontae Smith dropped the ball, and I blame that fully on him not touching the ball enough. And listen, he's got to catch the ball. That's on him. Now, I left this comment up there because I am going to absolutely obliterate you, iBlack.
Ugh.
I think this is the most ridiculous comment that could be put on Facebook. Alex, I love you. You're one of my favorite people. I'm so glad we have the opportunity to work with you. This comment is absolute trash. No CMC. Okay, did you realize that Nick Chubb is out for the year for the Cleveland Browns? Just wondering if you understood that. Because their running back didn't play the whole game. You had CMC for 3 quarters, 2.5. No Deebo Samuel. Oh, okay, cool. Because Deshaun Watson didn't play. You played against PJ Walker, who signed there yesterday. PJ Walker was their starting quarterback. You think that might be a little downgrade from Deshaun Watson? Maybe a little bit. I
San
think
Antonio.
that this is a 49. Listen, I'm going to tell you something right now about the 40 Winers. This is exactly what they do when they lose football games. And Alex, I love you, dude, but that's exactly why you guys got a reputation. Why'd you lose the NFC Championship game? Because Brock Purdy got hurt. No, because you put a backup tight end blocking Hassan Reddick. That's why you lost the NFC Championship game. Own it. Own it. I own it. It's not because the injuries. It's because you guys lost. The Philadelphia Eagles were missing Darius Slay, Jalen Carter, a whole plethora. Everybody in the secondary left the game injured. Lane Johnson left the game hurt. Did you hear us break down one thing saying Philadelphia Eagles, well, it was a loss, but we were listing all these guys? No, because in Philadelphia, when we lose, we own that shit. Own it. Be a leader of that 40 whiner fan base. The Browns won the football game. Listen, I'm not making any friends in San Fran. I'm not. And it's not, I don't mean to do this. I'm not trying to pick a fight with the San Francisco fan base. But what I am going to say is that's a load of bullshit. That's a load of bullshit. No CMC, no Debo, missed a game-winning field goal. I'll take that loss knowing that in worst-case scenario, we still had a chance to win. Cottrell, I will stop. I will space out, and I'll allow you to break down your team's win. Which, by the way, I might have to take
Here we go.
I might have to take a page out of your book. Maybe I'll pick against my team and say they have no chance to win. Maybe.
Hey, I didn't pick them. Win. I didn't official pick them, but I definitely didn't have faith in that game. But I will say, I mean, obviously the biggest piece to that win is how good the Browns defenses looked. When the offense isn't turning the ball over and giving teams short field, teams are really having to work to, move the ball efficiently against the Browns defense. And so got to give all the credit to, your former guy, Jim Schwartz. He's come in and he's turned that defense completely around. And, I definitely thought it would be great adding in some of those pieces, Zadarius Smith and Dalvin Tomlinson. Thought it would be great. Was not expecting the Browns to be on the pace that they're on right now. And I will say on the other side of things, PJ Walker, he threw two bad picks in that game as well. But for the Browns to hold Brock Purdy, even without CMC, even without Debo, to hold Kyle Shanahan and that 49ers offense to what they did was very impressive. And it almost makes me feel like if Deshaun Watson's not going out there and losing football games, then the team could go and win a lot of football games this year. Not saying he doesn't have to go back out there and be the Deshaun that he was in Houston. Obviously, there will be a point where we're going to need that out of him. If you have serious aspirations here, but keep the game plan simple, rely on that defense, and you can win big football games, because even without Debo and without CMC, this was a team, the 49ers were considered best team in the league. And so that's a big win for a game that a lot of people had already written off.
Shai, what are your thoughts on Browns 49ers? Was it because of the injuries?
I think it was the injuries. I think the Browns defense played an amazing game. And then, I think the 49ers just, they, we'll call it a look ahead, trap game, call it whatever you want. They just didn't look good. I mean, did the injuries factor into the game? Yeah. It's not the reason they lost. Like I said, I mean, you look at like game flow and stuff like that. Like if you look at what C-Mac usually sits out versus what he played, he probably only missed like a series or two of what he would have done for the quarter and a half that he missed. So I mean, that's not huge. Debo is, but again, you can't go to Cleveland and lose to a guy they signed off the street, 2 days before the game. Can't do it. That defense is legit. It's a shame. I think they're still struggling with the running game a little bit, and until Deshaun gets back and he's healthy, and I don't know where that team goes. I mean, they're very stagnant on offense right now. You're not going to be able to win a lot of games that way. You can steal one here once in a while, but to consistently go out week after week and expect your defense to do that is a little bit tough. Defense is good enough to do it. Don't get me wrong, but it's hard to rely on a defense to only give up 17 points a game in the NFL. It's just not realistic. But I don't know. I don't think they can count on Deshaun because I don't think he's coming back at full strength anytime soon. This is going to be Baker Mayfield version 2. This is going to be, we're going to hear about the shoulder all year long. It's going to be the excuse for everything. When he plays well, it'll be fine. When he plays bad, it'll be my shoulder hurt. I don't know. I think it's just going to be a thorn in the side for that team for the rest of the year. I really do.
I'm going to bring up one stat real quick. Hold on. I'm going to bring up one stat real quick, but I need you guys to not add on to what I'm about to say because there's a segment a little bit later in the show that I'm going to touch on this. So please don't go too far into it. There was a stat that was brought up before the game that went viral on Friday. Kyle Shanahan's record versus Jim Schwartz. It was 1-8, which is now 1-9. Jim Schwartz has Kyle Shanahan's number. Why that is so prolific is there's a really, really crappy story that's attached to it. And we might use that later, so pay attention later. But Kyle Shanahan is owned by Jim Schwartz. Jim Schwartz's defenses own Kyle Shanahan. 1-9. It's a huge number. I don't think Kyle Shanahan's 1-9 versus anybody.
Probably not.
Just saying.
I was just going to touch on Alex's comment. CMC touched the ball like 70%. Losing him changed things. So I guarantee you, those 3.9 yards per carry that he was getting, they didn't change the game too much. CMC was bottled up in that game, and him being there, obviously, 49ers are in a better spot, but he hadn't been doing much that entire game anyway. So I don't know how much that actually changed things.
Okay. Well, let's move on to some previews this week. Let's talk about some games we're going to talk about this week. Do we want to save it for the beginning or the end? Do we want to hit the main event early, or do we want to do it at the end?
Well, the main event is the last show, so I don't know. You can come out the gate with the main event.
Well, then we won't. I'm going to pull up the games. We got the games right here. Chiefs versus Chargers. Guys, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Game this year where Justin Herbert has had the ball in his hand with a chance to win the football game. He's lost 3 of them, and the other one he kind of should have lost, and then Minnesota went and boofed that one. 4 times. Guys, I don't know what to tell you. It's becoming repetitive. Now, it's not the defense's fault, right? 20 points. We're going to argue it's the defense's time? Do a pick. Look, the cat's even here for the Herbert edition. Guys, can someone please defend Justin Herbert this week?
The cat likes Justin Herbert.
I'm not going to defend him. I mean, threw a bad pick to end the game. But if you watch that last drive and tell me that Justin Herbert had a shot there, you watch that last drive and tell me Herbert had a shot.
Let's not block Micah Parsons twice and see what happens.
First of all, that was ridiculous. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, that's good. Because every other quarterback in the league would have made that throw, but him. If you don't block Micah Parsons twice.
Hey, listen, the quarterback does call out the protections.
Hey, now that could be something that I get behind. Like if he missed a protection there, hey, that is on him.
He came up the middle twice. There's no. It's not him. It's not him shifting the line and not accounting for one extra guy. That's Justin Herbert's fault. When he comes up through the freaking A gap and the center and the guard go, we don't gotta block that guy. Come on, dude. Like it's brutal. I'll give you the stat because I saw it because they posted during the game. Of his quarterback class since he came into the league with all those young guys, he has 14 fourth quarter game tying or game winning drives. He's tied with guess who?
Joe Burrow.
Correct. So 14 is a good enough number for Joe Burrow. It can't be that horrible for Justin Herbert.
I just want to know how many. I feel like he has an
hilarious.
Opportunity every single game. So, like, maybe how many times has he had the opportunity?
Yeah, because Joe Burrow plays on a better team, so he's not behind in the fourth quarter
disagree with that
every
completely.
freaking game.
I completely
you
disagree.
always do. Just like you went last year and you're like,
Who's
Chargers
Chargers
have better offensive weapons.
You would take Cincinnati's roster over the Chargers roster?
Offensive weapons. That was the discussion we got into the field.
I still wouldn't take their offensive weapons.
Jamar Chase is better than everybody. Let's start there. He's
okay.
Number one.
Keenan Allen.
Okay, Keenan Allen is better than Tyler Boyd and
T. Higgins.
Austin
Eckler better than Joe Mixon.
Not by a lot. Not as a pure running back.
I mean, if we're comparing things here, number one with the Chargers would be Keenan. Number one would be Jamar. So I take Jamar there.
Okay.
Am I taking T. Higgins or am I taking Quentin Johnston or Josh Palmer? I mean,
so you're just getting ignored because Mike Williams is hurt now. It's fine. Okay.
He's always.
I mean, he's not playing. So why would I?
That's fair. Mike Williams is better than T. Higgins, though. When they're on the field.
I agree.
I'll take Quentin Johnson over Tyler Boyd.
No.
I would. Maybe not now,
yet.
But like going
not
forward,
yet.
I would.
Okay.
I would take Eckler over Mixon. I would take the defense over Cincinnati's. I would take the offensive line over Cincinnati's.
I'm taking the. I don't know about the offensive line, but I think they're both bad. As a whole, though, I am taking the Chargers roster. I like the Chargers roster more. I mean, we're gonna see. We're gonna see what Herbert's made of when Brandon Staley's no longer the head coach. And you know, we say the same thing every week here about Staley, about Herbert. If they win, if they lose, at the end of the day, Herbert is considered a top 5, top 6 quarterback in the league. And Bill, you brought up a good point. He has 14 come from behind wins, but in situations like these, you're expecting Herbert to go out there and make plays. And so I'm fine with the criticism, but this isn't your final form of Herbert. And I'm just
right.
That's all
and I think it'll change when he has a new head coach. But the point is, this is what drives me up a wall. Justin Herbert, when they win, gets all the credit. And when they lose the football game, it's always something else. And I don't understand what he's done to earn such a love affair. And I think that part of me wants to critique him because so many people blame other things. But when I look at their games, and I watched them all, you guys know I watched them all. 36-34 over Miami, had the ball with a chance to get in field goal range. They lost the game to Tennessee, 27-24. They got the ball. They got into Tennessee territory, kicked the field goal, and went 3 and out in overtime. 20-17 to the Cowboys. Had the ball, a chance to tie or take the lead, threw an interception. Look, even the Vikings, 28-24, they went for it on 4th down in their own territory. Now, that's probably more than Brandon Staley.
Fact.
But didn't get a first down. Handed the ball to the Vikings at their own 32. I think that there's some credence to what I'm saying. I think Justin Herbert's like 1 game below 500 for his career. I think that's a problem. And I think that no one wants to address that problem. Once again, the argument I always make is this, right? Everybody's top 10 list has Justin Herbert over Trevor Lawrence. And when I look at the wins and the roster, I take Trevor Lawrence. I would.
You're taking people's top 10 list and tying it to the outcome of a team game. If you put them on equal teams with equal things, Justin Herbert right now is probably still the better quarterback. You convolute that to make your argument. Jacksonville's probably a better football team in a weaker division. If you say strictly at the quarterback position of how they play or what they are capable of, if you put them all on the same team, that's how people make their lists.
Charlie, I do not think that Jacksonville is the better football team than the Los Angeles Chargers. And I think that, go
ahead.
I just don't think that I think that Trevor Lawrence gets criticized where Justin Herbert gets praised and Jacksonville wins more football games.
See, that I disagree with. Like, I don't think we criticize, to be honest, I don't know if I've heard anybody criticize Trevor Lawrence once on this show so far this season.
There's probably a reason for that. I don't want to get deep dive into that.
What is the
I
reason?
get it.
I
get it. No, I get it.
I get it. Talk about win losses.
It.
He's 3-3 on a team that is head and shoulders above everybody, better than everybody in that division.
4-2.
Struggling. They should have
Did they not just beat Buffalo and London? Did they not just destroy Indianapolis at home? I wouldn't say
you think he's playing good? Is he playing as good as he was last year?
No.
Okay. So where's the criticism for that? There isn't any. I mean, if you want to talk about anybody who walked into the league with a golden boy reputation and praise, it's Trevor Lawrence, not Justin Herbert.
That's fair, but he also said Urban Meyer's first year.
Oh, so coaching matters now for him.
It matters. It matters for Staley. I said Herbert will look better when they. But Herbert comes up every freaking
What
I can judge is what I can see now. And what I'm seeing now is Trevor Lawrence is winning football games that matter, whether it be hook or by crook, and Justin Herbert's finding ways to lose them.
I will say though, all things being equal here, beating the Colts and losing to the Cowboys are two completely different things. Now, does Herbert have to play better?
Beating the Bills and losing to the Titans, are they completely different things?
Beating the Bills, but what about losing to the Texans? Like, I mean, you could go through. Why
are the Bills the stepping stone all of a sudden? All three of us didn't have them in the playoffs, so now the Bills is this marquee Super Bowl type victory in London, nonetheless, not even home.
Look, I am the middle ground between you guys on Herbert. I think Herbert's a top 10 quarterback. I think he needs to perform better in certain big games, but I also think that Brandon Staley is hindering him, and I just feel like with Herbert, you're not going to see his full potential until Staley's gone. Just like you saw Urban leave Jacksonville, take the jump. I'm not saying Staley is as bad as what Urban was, but if the Chargers make the playoffs again this year, they don't do anything. I get it. Trevor Lawrence has the playoff win under his belt. Chargers go to the playoffs again this year. They don't do anything, and then they bring in an offensive mind to pair with Justin Herbert. That's when we're going to see the accurate.
That's when I'll put Justin Herbert over Trevor Lawrence. Is when that happens. I'm not saying that one quarterback is drastically better than the other. What I'm saying is one quarterback's won a playoff game and one quarterback's won more games with a worse roster.
So, okay, let me ask you this then: If Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert, all things equal as the way they are right now, if you put Herbert over in Jacksonville with Dougie P and you put Trevor Lawrence in LA with Staley, is anything different? Like, are the Jags still 4-2? Are the Chargers still 3-3?
I think Jags might be 5-1 with Herbert.
Think they might be 5-1 with Herbert?
Yes. I think Doug Peterson would do wonders with somebody like Justin Herbert.
I think if that's the case, though, then that means you're thinking that Herbert is the better player right now.
I think the Chargers would be 3-2 with Trevor Lawrence. I think both teams would win an extra game opposite of each other. Does that make sense? I think Trevor Lawrence would find a way to win one of those one-score games that they lost, and I think Justin Herbert would have beat the Texans. That's my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. We'll see. Who wins Chargers Chiefs?
I got the Chiefs. I think the way the Chiefs haven't even been playing their best football as of late, and they've still been winning football games. Them getting back Frank Clark, they just got back Mecole Hardman as well. I think they're bringing the game back together, and they're trying to figure it out. And I think the Chargers is a great team to figure it out against. Chiefs defense has been playing well. I think they're going to be able to get after Justin Herbert. And then offensively, again, I know the Cowboys only put up 20 points. I fully expect Patrick Mahomes to go in and put up 24 plus on that Chargers defense. So I like the Chiefs to win this game.
Could this be the game that Brandon Staley gets fired after?
I doubt it.
It'd have to be really ugly, I think.
2-4.
Yeah, but do you punt the season at 2-4 though? Like, I think a lot of people
season. I want to see what I want to see what Kellen Moore has. I immediately.
I understand that, but I think the Chargers. I don't know if it was like in-house, if they're Super Bowl or bust, but I fully expect, like the way that roster's constructed, they were expecting to be forces this year. And I think if you fire your head coach at 2-4, you're all but saying we're not winning a Super Bowl
I
this year.
disagree.
And while I agree, you want to see what Kellen Moore has. You fire your head coach right now, 6 games into the year. What is that? What picture does that paint in the locker room?
That the head coach might be the issue, and the team is constructed the correct way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say. I mean, I don't know what they're. I think every team goes, hey, Super Bowl or bust, but I don't know if that was realistic. I think they wanted to contend and make the playoffs. So I think if you fire them at 2-4, I don't think you're saying that you're out of the playoff hunt at that point. I mean, I'll just say I don't think you're punting or giving up on the season at that point. So I slightly disagree with that one. And if they really think he's the problem, then I don't know how much more of the season you would allow him to waste. But I think if they go to Kansas City and lose, I don't think he gets fired unless it's ugly.
They got a home game versus the Bears the next week. I think it's the perfect opportunity to fire him.
That's a fireable game.
I think it's a perfect opportunity to fire him after Kansas City because you give the new head coach kind of a layup, you know? Like, yeah, you got the Bears at home to start. You kind of get your footing of calling a football game as a head coach. I think it's like going into a bye, firing a coach going into a bye.
I also think, too, with the way that the Chargers kind of let things go, I mean, they basically had Sean Payton in their fingertips, and, you know, that might actually end up being a blessing in disguise for them because maybe he wouldn't have been the guy for that Chargers job either. But like Kyle said, they didn't fire him after that playoff loss. I don't think 2-4 is just the mark, especially against the defending champions. It'd be different if they were going up against the Broncos or, you know, the Raiders or just someone else other than the defending champions with Patrick Mahomes. Like, I think it would have to be very, very bad, like 59-0 kind of bad for him to get fired after this game.
It won't be. You guys both have the Chiefs. I have the Chargers covering. I'm telling you right now, it's going to happen. I already see it. It's going to be a great game. 31-28. Justin Herbert's going to have the ball, down 3 points, chance to tie or win the game, and he'll throw it to the other team again. That's my prediction. I'll go 31-28 Chiefs. Give me the Chargers.
You think that's enough? That's enough to get Staley fired?
Probably not. I just wishful thinking because I want to see him under the right coach, man. I don't hate Justin Herbert as much as people might think. I hated Cliff Kingsbury. I don't hate Justin Herbert. I just hate the situation he's in. And until they get out of that situation, I got to call spade a spade. It is what it is. This is the only 2 football games we're covering, right? Is the Chargers Chiefs? I'm not missing one, am I?
Ravens Lions.
I thought we were just Ravens Lions.
Okay, Ravens Lions. That's a good one. I can't give you my opinion on it because I'm picking it. But here's a question I want to ask. It's perfect time for it. I want you to, and I did this intentionally. I have it ready for you. I want you two to rank the 5-1 football teams, 1 through 5, best to worst. Okay, you guys ready? The Chiefs, the 49ers, the Dolphins, the Eagles, and the Lions. There's 5 5-1 football teams. Rank them 1 through 5. Best team to worst.
I'm going to go 49ers, Eagles, Dolphins. Best team? I'll go Lions and then Chiefs because the Lions have the head-to-head. Teams that I trust more, though, I would put the Chiefs ahead of them. But they got the head-to-head, so
or 5.
I have the Chiefs 5.
Woo!
They have been playing. They haven't been playing good football.
No. Don't stop. Don't do that. Don't do that. I love you. And the reason I love you is because every time I think I'm about to make a bold take on the show, you say the same goddamn thing. I have the Chiefs 5. I have the Chiefs 5, the Lions 4, the Eagles 3, the Dolphins 2, and the 49ers 1. That's my 5 in order.
So we just got the Dolphins and the Eagles swapped in.
You have the Eagles 2, right?
Yeah.
Fine. I think that the Eagles might be 2 after this Sunday, but we'll get into that shortly. But if I'm being honest, there's 6 games of the season. That's my rankings. But I have the Chiefs 5. Shally.
Go Eagles, 49ers.
Eagles 1.
Lions.
49ers.
Yep. Lions, Chiefs, Dolphins.
Whoa.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, I'm here for it. Well, let's talk about
obviously
the Lions. Let's talk about the Lions. They're playing the Baltimore Ravens this week in Baltimore. Baltimore, however, is traveling back from London. It's a weird game. I don't think Baltimore looked good. Would they have 5 field goals in that London game?
Yeah.
Couldn't put the ball in the end zone. Guys, it's not Todd Monken. It's not the receivers. It's not. It's Lamar. He's not a great quarterback. We'll see. We'll find out. Who do you like? Lions, Ravens this week in Baltimore, Cottrell. Right on the wall. I know exactly where he's going. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got Baltimore in this one. I think David Montgomery being injured plays a big part. Don't know if Branch is going to be back this week, so not that it matters much for that Lions defense. They've been playing great, but I do think missing David Montgomery is going to be a big piece for them. Don't know how healthy Jahmyr Gibbs is. If he's there, if he's coming back this week or not. I think this is going to be one of those classic Baltimore Ravens games. I think they're going to be at home. I think they get up earlier on, and I think the Lions come roaring back, and they got the potential to go down for a game-winning drive. But I think Baltimore holds on. I got Baltimore winning a 23-21 game.
Okay. Shally.
I'm going to agree with Cottrell here. I think it's a lower scoring game. I think it's a very close game. It's a physical game. I don't like that David Montgomery's not out. Amon-Ra's going to be back. I still don't think he's 100%. I don't know what we're getting out of Jahmyr Gibbs, if anything at all.
Amon-Ra looked like a friggin' monster this past.
He did.
Tampa
He
Bay.
did. They said he tweaked it, though, so we'll see. At the end of the game, I don't know. I haven't heard anything else about it since then. He's going to play, so it's not going to matter. He's going to be in the field.
Every week that he's out there, Jameson Williams will continue to show you he's going to be an elite receiver in the NFL. He's going to get better and better each week.
If you stop doing dumb shit,
stay
on the down the field and not be suspended. I think the other thing I heard Baltimore's getting a couple guys back. It's on the road. I don't know. I think Detroit's the better team. I'm going to say Justin Tucker breaks their hearts again. I think Detroit's probably up late. They get the ball just over kind of midfield type thing, and Tucker does his thing and probably hits like a 55-yarder to walk it off. That's what I'm going with.
All right. Well, I picked this game, so we'll figure out where I went shortly. Philadelphia Eagles versus the Miami Dolphins Sunday Night Football. Cottrell?
I got the Dolphins.
I
know you guys don't want to hear that. I think the way that Dolphins team is playing, and I think they have the guys to really slow down what the Eagles like to do. Obviously, they're going to Eagles are going to stuff the run. I think with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, I think those guys are going to get loose in the secondary, and it's not because the Eagles don't have the guys to cover. I just think in space, it's so tough to stop Tyreek and Waddle. And, with the Eagles having their issues offensively, I do think that will play a part in this game as well. I think Jalen Hurts, maybe it's a miscommunication. He throws a bad pick somewhere in this game. I got the Dolphins winning a tight one. I do think it's a higher scoring. I think I got the Dolphins 31-24.
Okay. Shally, I think I know where you're going based off your rankings.
Regardless of the rankings, I think the Eagles win. I think the one thing Miami struggles with is pressure up the middle, and they already get a ton of it on Sunday. Carter, Davis, Fletcher, all those guys, they're not going to let Tua hold the ball, go in those deep 5-7 step drops and Waddle and and Tyreek Hill to get time to get down the field and run wild in the secondary, which I don't think they'll do anyway. I think the Eagles are equipped to take away what Miami wants to do, and vice versa. I think you get more DeAndre Swift on Sunday. I think they get back to kind of the bread and butter stuff. I think Hurts has a better game, has a rebound game. I do think Devonta has a better game. I think AJ will still do his thing. I like the Eagles 31, Miami 23.
I think this is an easy game to pick. I won't pick it for pick 'em, but I think it's a very easy game to pick. This is a bounce back game for Philadelphia. Their defense, you know where Miami struggles the most? Chally said it perfectly. When teams can get pressure on Tua without blitzing. If you can make him have to try to throw the long ball with a 4-man rush and 7 guys dropping into coverage, I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win the football game. Defensively, I think they're going to really shut down. And guys, I'm going to be honest with you. If I'm the Miami Dolphins, I might get Tua out of this game early. That's not the defense I want to be hitting him. On Sunday Night Football, I got news for you, right? I don't think Tua plays the fourth quarter. Eagles 38, Dolphins 17 in a rout. Mark it. Book it.
Comfy.
Like I said earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles roared back, but I just think this is going to be one of those games that can go either way just because of that dynamic with AJ and the rest of the offense.
I don't disagree with you. I don't worry about the Eagles offense versus the Dolphins defense. I really don't. No. I think you can.
I get that. Yeah,
you can physically run the ball and impose your will versus that Dolphins front seven. And I think when you can run the football versus the Dolphins, you make them put safeties down in the box. Jalen Ramsey will not be playing in this game, which means Eli Burnt Toast Apple will be starting going against one of the Eagles wide receivers. And if you have to command a safety in the box versus Philadelphia, you're in trouble.
I assume Jalen wasn't playing, but I did see that he returned to practice this week. Are they going to activate
They activated the 21 win. Yeah, correct. They activated the 21-day window, but he's not playing. Okay,
makes sense.
So let's get into NFL Pick'em because we got to start moving, guys. 8-18. Great show so far. By the way, I'm back where I need to be. I'm right there. I'm in striking distance. I was behind the 8 ball early in the season, and here I am. So I'm still third. But after this week, hey, listen, another guarantee, 3-0 or the rest of the season is free. I love that joke. It goes over so well. But Shally still statistically in the lead. What's the order, friend?
I'm switching it up because I've gone absolutely ass backwards the last 2 weeks on both of these. So I'm going to go first. I will let Cottrell go second, and I will let Gene run anchor tonight.
Back in my rightful place.
I don't know about all that, but so I'm going to go first. I'll go. So I'm going to start with Las Vegas -3 at Chicago. Justin Fields is not going to play. He's got a dislocated thumb on his throwing hand. He's going to be out for a couple weeks. Chicago, I couldn't even tell you. I forget the backup kids' names already. I think Las Vegas will do just enough to cover this game. This will be the game that you do not want to watch this weekend. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be awful. It's going to be boring. It's going to be filled with a bunch of mistakes. Do not watch it. If you're a Chicago Bear fan or a Raider fan, I apologize ahead of time. That being said, I think the Raiders going to Chicago, steal a win, and cover. Second game, going with Cottrell's Browns here, -2.5 at Indy. I do think Deshaun Watson's going to play. I think they're going to shoot him up. I think they'll do just enough. Richardson's out for the year already. They already announced he's going to have surgery this week. Jonathan Taylor, I don't think is enough to go against that Cleveland Brown defense. We saw what they're capable of last week, and I think they keep this game low scoring enough. Deshaun just does just enough for them to cover. He's only got to cover 2.5. I like Cleveland bigger than that, but I'll only take the 2.5. But I think Cleveland wins comfy in Indy this weekend. And last but not least, Atlanta at Tampa Bay. Desmond Ridder stinks. Baker Mayfield kind of stinks, but Baker's at home, has better weapons. Atlanta plays like trash away from Atlanta. I'll take Tampa -2.5 at home.
Okay. Kitro?
So my picks this week, sticking in the same kind of ballpark. I got Browns at Colts. I like the under 40. Now, I don't think Deshaun Watson is going to play here. I think they're going to play a little bit safe, especially knowing how bad that Colts team is. I think they're going to rely heavily on the defense. And you mentioned Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's still getting his feet under him. So I think they're going to throw out PJ for another week and, really limit what they want him to do. And I think that limits the amount of points they put on the board. So I like that under 40 number. Next game I like, Monday night game, the 49ers at the Vikings. Give me the under 44. That Vikings offense, even with Justin Jefferson, hadn't been putting up, crazy numbers. And I think them going up against the 49ers defense without Jettas is going to be a challenge for them. And I think that the 49ers, them losing the game last week is going to pay dividends for them this week. And so I think they get up big on the Vikings. I see that one being a, 27-10 kind of game. I think the under 44 is pretty safe there. Last game I like, Commanders -2.5 at the Giants. Look, I know it's a divisional game. I know it's on the road. Don't know if Daniel Jones is playing or not. Still hasn't been cleared for contact. And if you're throwing Tyrod Taylor out there, and the way that offensive line has been, they had a hell of an effort on the road last week against Buffalo. The film's out there. That's not going to fly again this week. So I like the Commanders to win big on the road against that Giants team. So I'll take the 2.5 there. So those are my picks for the week.
I have 3 picks, but I have a 4th pick that I'm going to say out loud that's not going to count. And I'm going to predict that Shally goes 0-3 this week. I like the opposite of all 3 of where he went. But we'll get into that. I also think that you're wrong on the Commanders-Giants game. I love the Giants +2.5. They're one of my leans, but I'm not going there. I think that Tyrod Taylor is going to show you why Brian Dable is not the issue, and it's Daniel friggin' Jones. I love the Giants in that game. Just that's not for here nor there. Not going to believe me on this one. First pick, I get the Ravens -3 at home versus the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff splits, home and away splits are terrible. He's not great on the road, and I think the Baltimore Ravens will be fired up for this one. I think the Ravens beat them coming back from London. I think that Lamar Jackson-led offense can get them enough points to win that game by more than 3 points. I don't know where you got your line, Shally, but I'm very close to you. I got a better line, though, for myself. I got the Colts +3 versus PJ Walker and the Browns. I don't think the Colts are terrible. I actually think Gardner Minshew makes them a better football team, if I'm being completely honest with you. I don't think they'll struggle to move the ball. The game's not in the dog pound. It's in Indianapolis. And I think they'll be able to run the ball with the 2-headed monster, Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor. And then the last game I have in the docket's Thursday Night Football. Give me the Saints -1 at home versus the Jaguars. I don't think Trevor Lawrence plays in this one. I don't think he should play. But if he does play, I don't like his chances versus that Dennis Allen defense. I like the Saints to win this game, and I think they win it rather comfy. I think that Trevor Lawrence should take the week off. They should take the L and get himself completely rested with the long week of rest. So they're my 3 picks this week.
Problem, though, that I will say is with the Jags and taking that week, Texans are playing better than anybody expected. And so that 1 week could prove to be big. I don't
think they win the football game with or without Trevor Lawrence.
Fair.
I think that Saints defense plays great at home. And a primetime game, they play even better. And if I'm being completely honest with you, I think that he'll do more damage playing in that football game than he'll do trying to win that football game. Just an opinion. We'll see. Let's get into college football. Now, keep in mind, we're going to go pretty quick through college football. But if you want a more in-depth analysis, instead of 20 minutes, you want 2 hours, you got to tune in Saturday to Coast to Coast. This is one of the best college football shows you will ever listen to with College Cottrell, Scholastic Shally, and I Black Elmore. Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 a.m. for you Pacific Coasters to wake up early and listen to Coast. But let's get into college football. Cottrell, as always, lead us into our preview. By the way, you know what's got lost in the sauce from college football? We're going to preview for a second, right? Let's do a little bit of recap. Small sliver. How about Colorado? Absolutely folding like a lawn chair last week versus Stanford. Up 29-0 in the first half and lost the game to an inferior opponent.
Yeah, it's a top 10 choke job of all time.
It's a very bad game. I actually feel a little bit more confident about my cheesesteak bet.
As you should. As you should.
Oh, I think that's over now.
It's not over because Washington State is falling apart. I can see them still competing with Washington State. I think they can compete with Arizona State, and I think that they have Arizona, and I think they have a chance to beat Oregon State in Colorado. I think that's a little bit of a dicey game, but so I don't think it's over. I don't think they have a prayer.
The little caveat that we had with it being the 6 wins and then beating Oregon State, I think is my best bet now. You know, I thought if they took care of business against Stanford, I was in a good spot, but that loss is going to pain me.
The odds swung wildly after the Stanford loss.
Yes, they did.
Back to Gene's favor. if you had Gene plus money last week, you got your bet in at the right time because he is now minus money to win this bet.
3-0 Astros.
There you go. That didn't take long.
8:27.
Didn't take long at all.
I don't know what to tell you.
As expected.
Nobody's surprised.
I'm not.
I'll tell you. I mean, listen. I think it's again the Colorado is a nice story. Their defense is, we're gonna probably talk about USC here in a second, but as bad as their defense is, Colorado's is worse. So I have no faith that they're slowing any of those teams down and winning any of those games.
Nope. I don't feel that either. We'll find out though. We'll see.
We will.
We don't know. USC, they got absolutely obliterated by Notre Dame. Cottrell called it. Shalley called it. I was hoping that Caleb Williams would come through for me. Had his worst game as a college. He hasn't had a game that bad since he played in high school. So Notre Dame's defense is for real. USC got trounced. And the Oregon Ducks had, it's funny. I went into that game thinking Washington was the better football team and they win the game. I left that game saying Oregon is the better football team and Washington won the game. I watched those two teams play. Oregon's the better football team. I'm not saying that, but neutral site, they play again. Oregon beats them. 100%. No doubt in my mind.
As long as their coach isn't an idiot.
Left 6 points on the board easily.
Yep.
And then missed the field goal at the end of the game. So it's 9 if you're going to be honest.
Yep. You're on the road. You take the points. I'm not mad about the one before the half. The only part about that, we talked about in the chat was I hated the play call. I mean, you have Bo Nix. Why you would take half the field away from Bo Nix is beyond me. And crowd 18 guys into a 20 square yard freaking area and expect them to throw the ball to somebody. I hate the play call. I didn't mind him going for it there. But later on in the game, when you have give me points on the board, you're on the road playing a really good team, you take them. Yeah. If you just took one of them, at least they go to overtime if the kid misses the field goal at the end. Instead, it's a loss, and it's a loss they might not be able to recover from because I don't know where Washington loses now. I said it a couple weeks ago. I thought whoever won this past Saturday wins the Pac-12, and I think it's going to be Washington now. They're going to need a monumental slip up from somebody, or they're going to have to take care of business in the championship game. But it's I agree with Gene. I think neutral field. I think Oregon's a better team.
The one thing that I will say is that I say it all the time. I'm not a fan of cowardly coaching, and I like aggressive coaching personally. In my mind, though, this is kind of how I view it. When it comes to taking the points or not taking the points, if it's me making a 1-possession game and I take the points and then I still make it a 1-possession game, I'm going for it there. If I'm at a point where it's a 2-possession ball game and I got a chance to kick the field goal and make it a 1-possession ball game, I'm taking the points there. And so I was perfectly fine before half, them being aggressive, trying to go for it. They were getting the ball back anyway after half, so I was perfectly fine with that. When you're down 11, you take the field goal there. They get you in a spot where, you get the ball back on offense. Your offense was humming in the second half, and, you got a chance to go down and score and tie the football game. So I hate that decision there. But as far as you guys saying Oregon looked at the better football team, I don't know if I'm fully on board with that just because of how good that Washington offense looked. I think they looked like a well-oiled machine, and their third option at receiver didn't play basically the entire game, and they were still, moving the ball very efficiently with that offense with Penix and Odunze and those guys. So,
Rome.
I think it could be a shootout wherever the game's at, and I think
I agree, but I think that's a difference for me. I think Washington played really well, and I think Oregon made mistakes and left points on the field.
That's fair.
I don't think Oregon played their A game on Saturday. I think if they did, I think they beat Washington. I think Washington looked like Washington. Washington was everything they were advertised to be. I think they played as such. I don't think Washington could play much better than that. I think Oregon could definitely play better than they played Saturday. That's why I think Oregon's a better team.
I give Washington all the credit in the world for scoring that last touchdown, but that whole second half, they were absolutely dominated by Oregon.
Yep. Alex probably hasn't slept since. So the only good thing is this second week in a row, we had Texas, Oklahoma. We were like, that's the best game of the year. We got Washington, Oregon, which I think was definitely a better game. Got another big one this weekend.
We'll start previewing games. Cottrell, why don't you start us off on previews? Where are we going first?
First game, we got Tennessee. We got Rocky Top coming off the big win last year. This year, they got to travel to Tuscaloosa for the matchup between those two one-loss SEC schools.
This game will be a lot different than last year. I think Joe Milton folds. I think Alabama absolutely dominates the Tennessee Volunteers this year. I think it's a revenge game for Saban and the boys, and I think Alabama wins this game by double digits. I have Alabama in a rout.
Hate agreeing with Gene, but I agree with everything he just said. I think if Saban has the chance to put it on Tennessee, he's going to. For as much as we kind of wrote them all off, they're still hanging around with one loss.
Hanging
around, alligator blood. But here they are. So I agree. I don't think they lose at home. This is not the same Tennessee team from last year. I know Josh Heupel's a good coach, and he's really turned that program around and got Tennessee back to where they are. Going in Tuscaloosa and beating Nick Saban is a different animal altogether. I think Jalen Moreau is actually starting to look like a quarterback a little bit. They're running the ball. Defense is getting better every week. Typical. There's a typical Nick Saban coach job. That's what this is. Call it like it is. Give him credit. I like Alabama by double digits as well. I'll give it to Gene
Jeffers
just for the soundbite.
I don't know about necessarily Jalen Milroe looking like a better quarterback. I think Bama has found
somewhat.
I think Bama has found ways to get explosive plays, and that's made their numbers look good. And I'm not taking like that away from them, but him moving the ball down the field consistently is still a huge issue. And I do think that ultimately Bama is going to win this football game, but Bama's not routing anybody. They haven't looked like a well-oiled machine pretty much all season. And so I got Bama winning the game. I think the Bama defense is going to get after Joe Milton, force him to make mistakes. But I'm actually siding with Joseph Jeffers here. I think this is going to be one of those lower scoring, just ugly mutter games that Bama wins. I see it being a 21-10 ball game and Bama wins. They're never like in any doubt per se, but I don't think Bama is the team to go out and just dominate in this football game. I do think revenge is on their mind, though. I think the defense comes out, hair on fire, but that offense is still giving me a lot of, reason to pause.
Bama 24-13.
Next game on the docket.
Next one we got the Duke Blue Devils traveling to Florida State, take on the Seminoles.
This game would be a lot different if Riley Leonard was healthy. I don't think he's healthy. He didn't look great last week. Did he play? No, he didn't play.
No, he didn't play.
I don't think he plays this week either.
He play Saturday.
I like Florida State in this one. I don't think Riley Leonard's ready.
I agree that he's not ready. I'm picking it. He's going to play Saturday, though. I mean, I don't know how long he lasts. I don't know how effective he is. That kid's going to start.
That line's disrespectful.
It is
nuts.
It is
nuts.
I'm picking it. Like I said, I'm not going to go that far into it, but I think he at least starts. I agree with you. I don't know. I think the kid's tough as nails. I don't know if he finishes the game. I don't know if he can go the whole thing. That type of ankle sprain, only 2 weeks removed, it's going to be a monumental effort for him to get through that game. But I think he's definitely going to play. I think he's going to try.
Look, I'm going to go out on my ledge here. I don't know why. Can't even give you great logic with it. I got Duke pulling out this game. To hell with the 14.5 point spread. Duke plays good defense. And I do think for them, this was the one game that's probably been circled on their calendar pretty much all year long. I know they played Notre Dame already. I know they're in that ACC with some of these other heavy hitters. They had Clemson to start out the year. But once they got that win streak going, I firmly believe that they had this Florida State game circled on their calendar, and this is the one that they've been waiting for. I think the defense is going to find a way to slow down that Florida State offense that has shown you at times that they're borderline unstoppable. And then at other times, it's like this Florida State offense is kind of, awful to look at. And so I think Duke's going to find a way to slow them down. And I think Duke's going to ride the momentum of Riley Leonard trying to get out a performance and go out there. I think they're going to rely heavily on the run game. They're not going to ask Riley to go out there and do too much. I think he's going to take care of the ball. And I got Duke winning a stunner in Tallahassee.
Love it.
I love that. I love that you picked that. I disagree, but I love it. Next game on the docket.
We got the main event. You got Penn State, Nittany Lions traveling to the Ohio State University, take on the Buckeyes. Ranked v. ranked matchup, undefeated for the top spot right now in the Big Ten. Obviously, Michigan's undefeated as well. Not saying anything there, but these two undefeated top 10 teams going up against each other, I think this is that marquee matchup to see who's going to be sitting atop the Big Ten, at least for now.
Okay. I will not pick this because I'm picking this game. It is one of my picks this week, so I will pass.
Do you know what that means?
Well, I don't know. Gene likes winning more than he likes being a Penn State fan because he's got Georgia to fall back on. I will say this. At the beginning of the season, I felt, we talked about this game and it was circled. I felt very strongly one way, and I don't feel as strong about this as I did before. I think Ohio State is at home. I do think they're the better football team right now. I do think Penn State is a little bit better and further along than I thought they might be. Ohio State's banged up. Ryan Day is being a little coy about who's going to play, who's not going to play. I don't think there's a chance that all four of those guys are healthy and they play. So it's a matter of who they is decided upon going to be healthy enough. I think Ohio State wins the game. I do. I maybe it's some home officiating. Maybe that's been known to happen in the horseshoe.
Sheesh.
Not going to say anything about that. But
JT made it.
Still short. That being said, I think I'm going to say it without saying it, but Penn State plays football very similarly to the way Michigan plays football. And I think they're very good at certain things that Michigan's good at. I think they're going to give Ohio State all kinds of trouble on Saturday. I'll say Ohio State wins the game. I think Penn State covers. I think they're in it till the very bitter end.
Cottrell?
Well, I got Ohio State winning this football game. In terms of what the injuries are, I think Emeka is going to be pretty much full go. I think they held him out of the Maryland game just because they were focused on getting him healthy for this one. The one that kind of concerns me is Travion Henderson, just because, they say he could have played last week, but the just mysteriousness behind the injury, going into Maryland, and then, him still not playing at Purdue worries me a little bit for sure. But I think the offense is going to be fine there. And I think for Penn State, I was fully expecting their offense to be more explosive in the passing game. I had Drew Aller being one of my finalists for the Heisman this year just because I think the kid has all the talent in the world. They haven't really opened that offense up. And I think this is going to be a chance for Ohio State's defense to really hunker down and, limit Penn State, get those guys off the field. And so I think Ohio State Wednesday. I think it's rather comfy. I think that it's a 2-possession game. I got 31-21. And 31-21 is not a crazy score, but I do think it's rather comfy because I think the Penn State offense gets stagnant in the second half.
Said Denzel might not play again.
I think he's going to be out there.
Like
I said, the only one that I'm truly worried about is Travion.
Okay. Well, I'll get into that during Pick'em. Let's get into our Pick'em segment.
Bill, there's absolutely no way that Eugene is not picking Penn State here. I just want you to know that.
I know, but I'm just waiting for it now, though. he bit his tongue that whole
he did. So you know what that means.
I know, but I mean, listen, I'm glad he's standing with his first choice. That is what I'm happy about. I'm proud of him.
Happens every year.
Last year he would have picked Ohio State.
What's the order, Cottrell?
So I like going first here, so I'll go first. Gene, you went last time, so we're gonna have you go second here. Bill,
on a hot streak, and you're mixing me up.
We'll stick you at the end. I gotta stay on my A game here, so gotta throw you at the caboose.
I don't know, man. The Super Dog record says I should be going last, but that's okay.
All right, so first game I'm going back to the well. Give me James Madison -3.5 at Marshall. Look, I told you guys last week, James Madison is for real. They had the 5.5-point spread and they won by like 67. So I'll take James Madison again. I think they are in full-fledged get to a New Year's 6 ball. I know they're not eligible, but I think they're going to try and petition and find a way to get there. I like them to roll this week. Next game I like Air Force at Navy. Give me the over 34.5. Air Force is another team. They're undefeated right now, and they average 37 on their own. And I know this is the academy versus academy game, but Navy is outmatched here. Air Force is going to take it to Navy, and they're going to score a lot of points in that one. So love the over 34.5 there. Last game I like. I gave it to you guys earlier. I'm going to give it to you again. Give me Duke +14.5 at Florida State. The line is disrespectful. Blue Devils see that, and they're going to make that a tight game. I ultimately think they win it, but even if they don't win it, I think that's going to be a tight one. Last game I like, and I don't even really like it, but it's my super dog for the week. I just think it's the best of what I got. I'll take Washington State +18.5 at Oregon. I would like this game a lot better if Oregon would have found a way to win last week and not lost the way that they did. But even if that just means I get a couple points here and there, I'll take Washington State to cover a little bit against that Oregon Ducks team.
Yeah, me and Coachella are sharing 2 picks. That's good. It means I can only lose like one game's worth of ground this week. Thanks a lot, Colorado.
I'll start with Texas -22.5 over Houston. They had the bye week. They're coming back angry. I think the Texas Longhorns hook them in Houston and beat them by more than 22.5 points. Second game on the docket, I'm going exact opposite of Cottrell. Give me Navy +10.5 over Air Force. I like Navy in this game. I think Air Force, something about that game was so weird last week with Wyoming. They should have blew them out. They didn't. Wyoming keeps hanging around in games. I don't think Air Force is the team everyone thinks they are. Give me Navy. I'll take Navy to cover the 10.5 points. I think it's a low-scoring game, like Cottrell said, but I'm taking Navy in the points. For my super dog, I got Michigan State +24.5 over Michigan. The game's in Michigan State. Guys, I don't know how in the world that J.J. McCarthy is tied for second in Heisman odds. That's ludicrous. That is absurd. He hasn't played well this year. Give me Michigan State +24.5. It's a rivalry game. I think Michigan wins the game, but I think Michigan wins the game. But I'll take the 24.5. Also, I will say this. The last time Michigan State was a 20-plus point underdog at home versus Michigan, some wild shit happened. I don't want to bring that up for Shall yet. I just saying it. I think Michigan State +24.5 covers. And for the game,
I was going to say, you skipped around.
Yeah, you did.
I did skip around because I wanted to have a main event. Penn State versus Ohio State. This is one of my picks this week, gentlemen. Listen to me. Drew Aller has been phenomenal at home. I told you before the season, Penn State will not go into Ohio State and win this football game. Give me Ohio State -4 to beat Penn State in Ohio State. I like them to win at home versus Michigan, and I will give you that next week. But I will take Penn State to lose this one by 7 points to Ohio State.
Oh, that's what you meant earlier. You're gonna do it. You're gonna pull a me on me and pick the.
That's the old swerve right there.
The old switcheroo.
It's called the swerve in the old booking business.
I got to do it. That's why I went last. That's why I went last with it.
All right. So I'm going to start with the other team that played in the Red River rivalry, but the team that won. I'm going Oklahoma at home +8 or -18.5. Same kind of thing against Central Florida. Coming off the bye, I think they're hungry. They know they're in the driver's seat now. They come out, they lay the wood, get off the field, handle business. I think they cover. Second game, going with Cottrell, Duke +14.5. I think it's disrespectful. I would hope that line is insinuating they don't think Riley Leonard's going to play or he's not going to play well. I think the kid suits up and he gives it a go. I don't think there's any shot that he lets all those other seniors that he came into school with go out there without him on that field. I think he plays. I think they keep it close. Again, I think they're playing for their lives, and I think Florida State has spells, not where they're asking to get beat, but they welcome it. And I think you might get into complacency here. I think if Duke can hang around this game, I think they keep it close to the end. Maybe Florida State pulls it out, but regardless, I think 14.5 is too much. Duke is too talented, too experienced, too senior laden of a roster to roll over and go to Tallahassee and get blown out. So I'll take Duke +14.5. Going against Gene on this one, I'm taking Michigan for the first time this year, -24.5. Their last 2 weeks, they've looked better and better. They're going to go to Michigan State, who is spiraling out of control. J.J. McCarthy's numbers aren't huge because he doesn't play in the fourth quarter. He doesn't have to. He leads the nation in QBR. He has not had a horrible year, so I'm not sure what you're looking at on that one. Not saying he should be a Heisman finalist, but he's had a great year. So I don't know. Maybe that's some wishful thinking for your pick, but it's just not reality.
Like 6 interceptions, bro?
He has 3, and he threw them all in one game. He's got a completion percentage over 70%. Again, not quite sure what you're looking at there. That being said, I will take Michigan on the road. Paul Bunyan Trophy is staying in Ann Arbor. He will stay with his blue pants on. Michigan State sucks, and they're getting rolled on Saturday. Superdog pick. I'm going with the same as Cottrell. I'm going Washington State at Oregon. I also would have liked a lot better if Oregon would have won last week. Maybe kind of have a little bit of a letdown game. Now they're going to come out hungry. If I steal a couple here, I do. Washington State's played awful the last 2 weeks, so I'm hoping we get a better effort. I feel like as soon as we started talking them up, they started playing like toilet water. So I'm hoping I get a better effort out of the Cougars at Alton Stadium on Saturday. So those are my 4 picks.
Okay. Let's get into some UFC action before we wrap up. You got to be kidding me. Guys, totally different card. 2 p.m. start, by the way, that sucks. I'll be at work during this card. I'll be streaming it when I can. I will say this, both better fights.
Yep.
Both better fights. Let's start with the co-main event of the evening. Kamaru Usman, Cottrell's BFF, versus Khamzat Chimaev, Gene's BFF. In a battle of Gene versus Cottrell, I will go with Khamzat Chimaev by 2nd round stoppage. I actually don't think this fight will be close at all. Usman is a great wrestler. Khamzat's a better wrestler. Usman is a good striker. Khamzat's a better striker. Usman's big. Khamzat's bigger. Give me Khamzat by 2nd round TKO.
Good, Cottrell.
All right, well, I got Khamzat as well. I think this would be a different fight if Kamaru would have had a full camp for it. I give Khamzat all the credit in the world for saying that he's cool with taking, Kamaru on short notice because, he really didn't have to do that. I think Khamzat knows he's 1 shot away from the belt. And so, he didn't necessarily have to fight Kamaru here. So give both these guys a ton of credit. But I just ultimately, agree with what Gene said at this point. Kamaru's just not in his prime anymore. Had this fight happened 2 years ago, maybe I have a different outcome as well. I think Kamaru's knees are done, and we're seeing this is the end of the road for him. I think Hamzat's going to go out there. He's going to dominate him. I do think he's going to struggle a bit trying to take down Kamaru in that first round. But after that, I think the floodgates open and Hamzat has a ton of success. I got it ultimately being a third round stoppage. I think he's going to get him down to the ground at some point and just beat him down. I think it's going to be a little bit later on. I see it being in the third round. Could also see it being in the fourth round, but I just don't think Kamaru is going to hold up against the pressure that Hamzat's going to consistently bring at him and how much he shoots and how much he's going to be throwing at him. So I got Hamzat to win by stoppage as well in the third round.
I'm going with Hamzat, third round stoppage as well. I think the first round's probably a little bit boring, maybe a little bit of a feeling out process. Hamzat just wants to, not that he's not going to come forward. I just don't think he's going to come out wailing away. I don't see that. I think he's going to be a little bit careful, just kind of get his bearings about him. I don't think they're going to sit there and circle each other for 5 minutes. I just don't think it's a crazy action round. I think the second round it picks back up. I think Hamzat probably wins round 2. Does a little bit of damage to Kamaru, and then really I think just goes in for the kill in round 3. I'll say mid to late round 3 stoppage. I think Hamzat gets him on the ground, probably ground and pounds him out and finishes the fight. So I give Kamaru all the credit in the world for taking the fight. Like Cottrell said, I give Hamzat credit for, he probably could have walked away from it and, be like, no, I don't have enough time to prepare either. I don't want to lose, but the dude's a gamer, wants to fight everybody that he can get in the cage with. So both guys, I think it's a big name fight. I hate to say it because I started to like him when he kind of started maybe his downfall. I think we're kind of on the backside of Kamaru now. I don't know if he ever gets back to, where he was before with a belt. So I think we're kind of starting to see the decline, and Hamzat is just, the dude's an animal. I don't know what else to say. He's still, I think the scary part is I think he's still on the rise. So I'll go third round TKO.
Okay. Let's get into Islam Makhachev versus Volkanovski too. Cottrell, why don't you start us on that one?
So I love the matchup. I really wish Volk would have held off on it though. I think him taking this fight on such short notice, 11 days notice, he came out and basically said that he's at like 180 right now. So he's got to cut 25 pounds in a span of 10 days. He's going to be able to do it because it's Volk. But I just think Islam, he's had the full camp to prepare. I think Islam is going to dominate this fight, not because he's the more dominant fighter, but because he's going to be more prepared for it. And that's not to take anything away from Volk, because I truly think if Volk would have came in with the full camp, I probably would have took Volk in this one. But I think Islam dominates this fight. I got to be in a 4-1 decision for Islam. I think the one round that Volk wins is that first round, because he's going to go after and try to get after Islam. But after that, I just think Islam's going to be too much for him. So I like Islam 4-1 decision.
Shally?
I'm going to agree with Cottrell again. I think there's a chance this fight maybe ends in the fourth round, but ultimately I think it goes to decision because I think Volk is just a warrior. I don't like that. I know Volk's used to cutting, but 25 pounds in 10 days and still trying to work on things and work out and all that stuff. It's just a lot. It's a lot. I'm not saying you can't do it. It's a hard cut at the end. I think if you had a full training camp, I do agree. I think I think we had a better chance of a Volk victory. That being said, I'm gonna go the way the first fight went. Even though there's a part of me that still thinks Volk kind of won the first fight. I think we're going Islam in this one, 4-1. I think he retains, and I think he looks good doing it.
Give me Alexander Volkanovski by third round KO. I think Volk stops him in this fight. I think you don't have to get ready if you stay ready. Alexander Volkanovski's best pound for pound fighter in the world, and I don't think he'll have any problems making weight or having any issues with cardio or being ready. I think Volkanovski has been waiting for this opportunity to go against Islam. He's the only one that's shown that he can completely stop Makhachev's takedown defense or any issues with being wrestled to the ground. I think Volkanovski showed that in the fourth and fifth round of their first fight. I think he's been ready for this situation. So give me Volkanovski by third round KO. I think it's an absolute right hook that knocks Islam cold onto the carpet.
The other thing that kind of worries me about Volk is that he mentioned after his last fight that he wanted to take some time off. Obviously, this opportunity presented himself, and he had to jump at the chance at it. But he already wanted to take some months off here. He wasn't supposed to fight the rest of this year, and he wanted to take more months off. So I just don't know. I think Volk his toughness is going to get the worst of him here.
I guess we'll find out. I'll take Volk. Let's get into You Gotta Be Kidding Me, gentlemen.
All right, so mine this week's kind of a funny one. Mine this week, I got Shane Beamer. Not because he lost the football game last week. He did though. He lost 31-29 to a Florida Gators team. But, after he suffered the defeat, this guy goes and decides to kick a Gatorade cooler and he breaks his foot. And so to quite literally add insult to injury here, you go lose a football game and then you go and break your foot because you kick a Gatorade cooler. Now you're hobbling around at the press conference, and now there's this narrative about the coach can't control his emotions and things like that for a South Carolina team that's struggling this season. It just sucks all the way around. So Shane Beamer, losing your head here, kicking the Gatorade cooler, breaking your foot this week for me.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Shally.
I got nothing good, man. I had one that I kind of wanted to go into, but it's there's not enough out there for me to go say something about it confidently like I want to. So I don't want to stick my foot in my mouth.
Well, I'm going to stick my foot in my mouth because this is too good to not say. You guys know what I'm about to bring up? The Press Democrat fires 49ers blogger who pleaded no contest for a sex crime. For more than 2 years, Jack Hammer covered the San Francisco 49ers for the Press Democrats inside the 49ers blog. On Saturday, the Press Democrat fired him after a series of social media posts on X, formerly known as Twitter, alleged that Hammer is actually Jeff J. Patterson, who previously pleaded no contest to sexually assaulting a minor. Do you remember that stat that came out about Jim Schwartz being 8-1 versus Kyle Shanahan? Well, Jack Hammer was the one that reported it. And because of that stat went viral, and because so many people replied to it, more and more people found out that Jack Hammer actually was an alias for Mr. Jeff Patterson. Jeff Patterson pleaded no contest to sexually assaulting a minor when he was the head coach of Sombrado High School in Morgan Hill. He was charged with felony-related alleged assault of a student. How this man was writing for the 49ers under an alias for 2 years and no one figured it out, you got to be kidding me. That's my You Got to Be Kidding Me this week.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
It's a bad one.
No, it's not good.
Jack Hammer. What? Like, pick a different alias. Like, be Jack Kaminsky. Like, I don't know. Like, Jack Hammer? Are you for real at this point? I'm sorry.
Say you want to be a male porn star without saying you want to be a male porn star.
It's wild. Any final comments, gentlemen? Got to wrap up. It is 8:59.
Got nothing.
Nope. Another big week of college football. Another big week of NFL, UFC card, baseball playoffs. Life is good.
Life is really good. I want to announce something now. Me and Cottrell will be playing Madden on Twitch, live on Wire2Wire's Twitch next Wednesday night. Next Wednesday night, immediately following the show. We have a commercial to film tonight. We both have league games tonight. It makes sense for us not to play it at 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night. So immediately following next week's show, me and Cottrell will be playing live on Twitch Madden. And we've had a lot of shit talk, and there'll be even more next week. So make sure you tune into the Wire2Wire Twitch stream to see Gene beat Cottrell by over 10 points. That's all we have this week, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. Please give us a download on Facebook, Twitter, wherever you download your podcast. I said Facebook and Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Thank you for tuning in to show 158. I'm Gene Walzek. That's Cottrell Simpson. That's Bill Shallcross. And we are signing out.